Week 6 is in the books. We've had some changing, we've had some moving, but it was all good football. And if you want to find out what happened and you want to find out what we think's going to happen, you better stick around to the bottom line because we're on next.
And that's the bottom line. You want a war? You're going to get one.
The cream rise to the top, oh yeah.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Hard work pays off. Dreams come true. Bad times don't last, but bad guys do.
Week 7 already.
Whew.
Where's it going?
That's what happens. It's every year, man. The season just takes forever and forever to get here. And then pretty soon, bang, we're talking about week 7 already. Happens every year. It's a given. Name your season. NFL, college football. I mean, I coach high school baseball. Can't wait to get to our first game. And then pretty soon it'll be July. And you're like, what just happened? It's the way it goes. So we got to enjoy it while it's here, Mike. Just got to enjoy it while it's here.
And we do. And viewers out there, if you want to, sit back, have a good time, want to just listen to some spring football and just talk about some spring football, sit back, relax, have us on, and chime in, follow along.
Love it. Looks like the comment line's already happened. So,
Good evening, everybody.
welcome
Good
Chris,
evening.
welcome DJ, welcome Robert.
Loaded show
Pardon.
tonight.
Lots to get to.
Yeah, let's get started. We got lots to talk about, and we never seem to have enough time. So let's get rolling. Let's start off with Friday night's game, courtesy of the UFL. Let's look at the Arlington St. Louis highlights.
Visit the St. Louis Battlehawks in the loudest place in spring football. Looking for the 22. Going up top. And it is caught.
He does not reestablish. He doesn't get the left foot down before. So we're just going to call off the touchdown, Jason. You've got an illegal touch. Just go ahead and call an illegal touch.
An incomplete pass. It's an illegal touch.
What'd you say about the 26?
36. Going up top, looking for Butler. Caught. Flag on the play, but the touchdown, if it stands.
They're on the first snap.
They hand it off Balaj. Nowhere to run. St. Louis wraps him up. Flag down on the play.
Hey, holding your feet up. From a 4-down look to now a 3-down look.
And it's only a 3-man rush. And they still get there. Ball comes out. St. Louis recovers.
comes up number 7, and Perez is trying to get himself loose, going vertical on the field, but that ball is just in one hand, sloppy with the ball, and St. Louis,
who has been the man all night long, forces the fumble, and Chris Garrett.
PETA.
And if the loss wasn't bad enough for Arlington, it was found out today that Balaj is lost for the season now. He got put on injured reserve.
He took a shot directly to the shoulder. When that happened, he went down. And when he got up, you could just see the arm hanging. I thought, oh, boy, that's not good. And you hate to see that.
Yeah.
I don't care who that's for. You hate to see any of that. But it's part of the game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a huge loss for Arlington. Huge loss. So
And I wish they had that shot of when that last fumble at the end of the game. You saw Coach Stoops just – and we talked in the group chat there, and it's just like, I don't know if there'd be a time to, walk by Coach Stoops or even just, ask Coach Stoops, or if, because Luis Perez went right to the bench. It's like, ooh, that's got to be a rough situation there. But we saw in the press conference, we may have the soundbite with, Coach sticks up for his quarterback.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's a perfect lead, Mike.
Great lead in, Mike.
I do have that. And, it's not going to be hard to tell what Stoops thought of the question that was being asked, courtesy of the UFL. Here's how it went down.
Luis Perez, kind of struggled tonight. He had a hard time under pressure, was not incredibly mobile as the pass rush got to him often. Were there any thoughts about sticking Holton Allers into the game, or was there any conversation that went on that end?
No.
and that was followed by probably 10, 15 seconds of silence. So if I would have, if it would have been me and I would have had control, I would have hit this right away.
Well, the problem that maybe Stoops is seeing and Arlington fans are seeing is, you saw an Arlington team last week duel it out with the top team in the UFL and then lose on a heartbreaker, but put 33 points up on the board. And then this week, I mean, I don't know, you give full credit to St. Louis's defense, I guess, because it just seemed like anything that they got going, there was a fumble, there was an interception, there was a penalty. Like, they did everything to shoot themselves in the foot, and it just never came together. They didn't look anything like the team that took DC to the line. So I don't know. They're just a tough team to figure out.
To the tune of, what they have, 11 penalties?
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. You have 4 turnovers and you have 11 penalties, you're not going to win. So
yeah, and it's such an important game too. I mean, this is a game too. When you talk about I honestly thought, and I texted Eric this anyways, that I thought this was a great football game, regardless of how people think about the score, the penalties. But when you talk about the punter, the field goal kicks, I was thinking, okay, we got a duel with the kickers here, and the stakes of the game, I thought was great. I loved it.
Well, I like. And Chad said it was like watching the Renegades of last year. You might be right, Chad, but in a big game like that, I love good defense. I mean, I love good offense too, but the DC game was 37-33 last week. I only thought this week it was fitting. It was 12-6, and the defenses were just throwing haymakers back and forth, keeping the offenses off balance. Turnover here, turnover there, big play here, big play there. I mean, I just love watching defenses fly all over the field. And both of these defenses did. St. Louis was just able to make a few more plays and turn them over a couple more times. And, that's the result you get. But I agree with you, Mike. I love games like this. The casual fan doesn't. They want points. They want touchdown, bomb, but I love games like this for sure.
So Coach Stoops was asked, he's growing increasingly more frustrated, which is very understandable. He was asked a question about the current state of his team, and courtesy of the UFL, this is what he had to say.
It says, Coach, it was a heartbreaking loss, but beyond the results, does the team look close to the level that you want?
No, not really. The discipline of penalties, it's something, that I detest as a coach. And you put yourself behind the chains in a lot of those situations. It's hard to overcome it. So, no, I don't feel we're where we need to be at all. And like I said, up to this game, we had been really good taking care of the football. And for whatever reason, tonight we weren't able to do that. And, and in Luis's defense, sometimes people put all the interceptions on him. One of our receivers ran the wrong route. And he wasn't where he's throwing the ball expecting him to be a certain spot, and he wasn't. So, so that's uncharacteristic of what we've been doing, but that gets back to, doing the right things, like not having penalties, running correct routes, take care of the football. Those are all pretty fundamental basics to winning.
And, what's got to be frustrating for him is that, Arlington's shooting themselves in the foot. They're such a quality team, and they have what it takes to go far in this league. But the combination of shooting themselves in the foot and now, with Balaj going down with injury and stuff, you wonder if and you watch Luis Perez play, and let's face it, I wonder if he's losing a step.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we're still in that point in the season where I think it's too early to tell. I mean, I think there's still plenty of football left for these teams. They're in a better standing position with as far as like when you look at the standings, the playoff standings, and compared to see where Houston is, they're third. I think it's a little tougher road for Houston to get to the playoffs. It's certainly possible, but for Arlington, definitely possible. They were the consistent team despite what their record was last season, and that's why they were one of my championship favorites when the first initial odds came out. And like, oh, there was great value with Arlington there because they were still able to run their offense consistently for the most part, and there was a handful of games that could have gone either way, and they were on the wrong end of the scoreboard a lot of the times last season in those close games. So even when they came to Detroit, they lost by, I believe, 1 point. So it's a lot of those games, and I just think they just gotta stick to playing pro football, and that's what Coach Stoops is just getting your assignments, running your routes. There's not the margin for error because we talked about last week on the show. Just you don't have many possessions with how the clock runs in this game, so I think that just adds another element to what you have to do and how important every drive on offense is.
Well, and two things are, I think Arlington, they have DC left on the schedule once, and I believe they have to – do they have Memphis and Houston?
As far as for Arlington?
Yeah, they got Arlington.
That sounds about right because I know they've played Birmingham and Michigan already.
And they've played St. Louis twice.
Yeah, so they have Michigan next, and they have Michigan, DC, and Memphis still to go.
Okay. Well, they must have San Antonio once.
Yep, that's their last. Yeah, and that's their last.
That'd be their last game.
Yep.
So they're 3-3, and they're through. I guess what you could call the meat of their schedule, maybe. But they still got some games. I mean, if they go 2-2, that's going to be a tough. That's not going to get it done probably. So they're going to have to go 3-1 to put themselves, I think, back in the mix, unless, for whatever reason, DC or St. Louis falls off the map. Yeah. But going back to something else that Coach said, and I've said this a lot, I don't care whether it's college football, NFL, UFL, whatever. As fans, we watch a game and we see a pick and we say, what was he doing? Mm-hmm. But I actually wonder a lot of times how many of those interceptions, even the ones that look really bad to us on TV, how many of those interceptions are wrong routes? An out cut when it should have been an in. A deep route when he should have cut it back. I mean, how many of those actually happen? And, Coach alluded to it, that they weren't all Luis's fault. So, I mean, it's easy to blame the quarterback as he's throwing the ball, but You know, when you look at the turnovers, the interceptions. Well, you look at all the miscues and because to me a wrong route is not being disciplined, just like a penalty is. You know, just like a fumble, not taking care of the football, those types of things. So to me, Arlington looks like a very undisciplined team, and sometimes it works and they look really good, and sometimes it doesn't. It looks bad and they don't look so good. I mean,
well, when I'm talking about losing a step, I'm not talking about. I wasn't referring to the interceptions as much as I was as being able to buy himself time in the pocket and his maneuvering around the pocket, maybe leaving the pocket. It just seems like he's not getting away. And you know, they named the players of the week today, and Pita was named the defensive player of the week in the UFL.
Yeah, as he should have been.
And courtesy of UFL, this is what Coach Beck had to say about Pita's performance.
Coach, talk a little bit about Pita. Two crunch time plays and punching that ball out with a minute 50 left. I mean, he's just a killer in the fourth quarter, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, that's kind of where you make your money, right? Really proud of him. I mean, I talked to him and Feeney in that last drive, and it had to happen. I mean, those are just critical times in the game where we have to shut a team down, and to get that pressure at the quarterback, to force that fumble, the sacks is just it was a dominating last drive performance. So really proud of him. You know, high stress game, obviously. You know, when you play those tight ones, but you know, that it was a fun performance to watch from our defense for sure.
I have to give a quick shout out here to Saginaw Valley State Cardinal Nick Whiteside for the St. Louis Battlehawks for getting that fumble. I think was maybe the biggest play of the game, and that really set up the last few minutes for the Battlehawks to put it away. So great by him, and we're all wishing him the best of success in this league and wherever else that his pro football career takes him. So great job by Nick Whiteside there.
Well, if you remember too, last year Jake Bates, as a field goal kicker, kind of stole the show in the UFL and went on to kick for Detroit and did a hell of a job for them as well. This year, I think we made that the St. Louis Battlehawks may have this year's version of Jake Bates with Rodrigo. And courtesy of the UFL, this is what Coach had to say about he's 14 for 14 so far this season. This is what Coach Beck had to say about him.
Coach, talk a little bit about Pita.
Rod's been spectacular. Our kicker is phenomenal. Enjoy him now because he won't be with us next year. I can almost guarantee that. But just dude can count on him, man. Like that's huge. I mean, he is money. Like seriously, he'll be the first guy taken out of this league. There's no question about it. If he's not, the NFL's.
Yeah, he's right.
Yeah,
100%.
He likes Legos too, so if there's anyone out there with a connection to Legos, get him a Lego endorsement.
So now, to keep things going here, I mean, we can talk more about St. Louis and Arlington when we get to our pick segment, but let's go ahead and let's move on to the next game, Memphis and Houston. So let's go ahead and, courtesy of the UFL, let's watch the Memphis-Houston highlights, and we'll talk about it when on the back end.
180. Where's that?
First down for the Roughnecks. A-gap pressure gets picked up, and Merritt out of the backfield spins his way free. Kirk Merritt, look at him go! My, oh my, explosive for the Roughnecks. 2nd and 8. McClendon goes inside the 5 and into the end zone. Justin Hall. He leads the league in catching. Win to the end zone. Touchdown, Memphis. J.J. Wilson. First and goal. And Russell Wynn is going to take it in. And just like that, Memphis takes the lead. All the guys around the line of scrimmage. Here's what a hit. Ball is out. The ball is out, and it is scooped up, and they are going to score off of it with T.J. Franklin. What a thunderous hit by Armani Marsh. He just wrecked Dresser Wynn, and T.J. Franklin scoop and score. 3rd and 7. He's going to throw pressure off the edge and gets it complete for the first down to Chisholm to put this game away.
We've been talking about the inexperience. Watch the experience. Knowing he's hot this side, he's going to drift to his left. You can hear the audio right before he said, cover 0, I'm hot. He knew who was coming.
I drove down to Memphis a couple weeks ago when they played, and it was a big defensive play by Houston that won that game too. So, I mean, you can basically take the Memphis-Houston series this year and break it down into 2 plays, both defensive touchdowns that decided both games.
I thought they were going to be picking this part of Wynn up and then this part of Wynn up, because I saw that hit coming. I thought, you better get rid of it. And he didn't get rid of it. And, oh, my, I felt it through the TV. I was like, oh, that's a chiropractor appointment right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they call in the NFL a good old slobber knocker right there.
Yeah, Chris describes it. Dresser Wynn got wrecked. He absolutely did. I mean, you know, Houston is a tough read. You know, they're playing good defense. You know, McClendon's come in, done some nice things for them. But I don't know, Ed, what's your read on Houston right now? They're 3-3. They're 3 out of 4 games.
Houston's got a good defense. There's no doubt about it. But you can't help but think, though. I mean, they're 3-3, but look at their 3 wins. It's 2 from Memphis and 1 from San Antonio. So they've got 3 wins over a 2-10. You know, the 2 teams they beat are 2-10 so far this season. So, you know, if you were strictly a stats guy and you looked at that, you would think, oh, well, you know, they haven't beat anybody. But as you can see, Houston and Memphis went toe-to-toe 2 times in a row. They could have went either way, clear down to the end. So, you know, to say Memphis only has 1 win right now isn't indicative probably on how well they've played this season. So, you know, you can't always just look at stats and have it tell the story.
And the thing about Memphis is, you know, David Davis, they got the running back, Mike, from Michigan.
You mean Nate McCrary, or you got the Sheridan?
No. That Memphis has now. Hill.
Oh, West Hills.
You know, the thing about Memphis is, yep, they're 1-5. Okay. They're not going to the playoffs. But, you know, with Davis being healthy, you know, probably not wouldn't have been a huge impact in this game. Hill, you know, same way. But going forward, next week or for sure, week 8, 9, and 10, Memphis could be a problem. They're definitely not a game that you can just say, oh, we got Memphis this week.
Definitely not.
You know, so and you know, Houston's the same way. Like you said, Ed, well, you know, their 3 wins are against teams with a combined 2-10 record. But they play. And give Coach Johnson credit. He's got them playing hard. You know, other than that first game against St. Louis, they have been in every game. You know, so like I said, I wish we had Memphis and Houston. We have St. Louis has Houston in the rear view, but we're staring Memphis this week. So, you know, I wouldn't want to have Memphis or Houston on the schedule. Birmingham's got to play Houston twice in the next 3 weeks, I think.
You know what they always say, that you can tell about sometimes the quality of the question by how long it takes to answer. And so in the post-game presser, my daughter had an opportunity to ask Coach Turner a question, and I'm going to have to split this up into 2 different segments because it was too long to put as one. But here's the question that was asked Coach Turner.
Hi, Amanda with the 18 with RC. Coach, I wanted to ask you, how does it feel and how frustrated are you to have these games come so close each week? And what are you doing to prepare for next week when you go against St. Louis in Memphis?
And so here's how he answered it. Of course, I had to cut some of it off because it got pretty lengthy, but here was his response, courtesy of the UFL.
So when we game plan every week, right, we're trying to showcase players at the same time. We're obviously trying to win the game. To gain that 1 point, that one extra point, I just think it is what I've been saying and what he just said, which is we just need to gel more. So we need to be together more, right? So, like, if you look at some of these, I'm not making an excuse, but if you look at some of these teams, right? So St. Louis has had the same coach for the last 4 years, however many years he's been there, right? Birmingham's had the same coach since the beginning of time, right? Houston's had the same coach for the last 4 years, right? So these guys, they've been running this offense, the same stuff. He's been running this offense for 2 weeks. He was a third-string quarterback, and nobody even knew his name. No, he wasn't going to get a chance this year. And so it was like he was just an afterthought, which is total horse whatever. All right, so that's what we're going through right now, right? So in the end, we got to make plays when they're there. So our offensive line had to do a better job on that one play, and it always comes down to these single plays in these football games. And so I got to do a better job myself. And
I thought he hit the nail on the head because
100%.
I mean, and that's, take Memphis's games out of it and just talk about the UFL in general. How many of these games have come down to the final 5 minutes of the game, and it all hinges on one big play that makes the difference?
Yeah.
Well, if you look at it like this, and the NFL, all sorts of mini camps. Rookie camp just got over here, last week. And then they got full camp. And then we've got preseason games. And then we get to game one. These guys get basically 3 weeks of practice. Then it's game week. And then it's a game. Then it's for real. I mean, that's what high school teams get. You get about 3 weeks of practice, then it's game week, and then boom, you're in. So, like he's talking about, the teams that have the advantage, he mentioned St. Louis, he mentioned Birmingham. They're doing the same things, same coaches. They show up. Think about it. From 2023 for sure. Who's been there? I mean, Hakeem Butler, Mike Rose, Willie Harvey, all those same names that are there that they don't have to walk in the door and go, hey, what are we doing? Nolan has been with Michigan for how long, Mike?
3 years.
So that creates a certain continuity where, I mean, what's Memphis gone through? Wisenhunt, Turner, Wisenhunt, back to Turner. I mean, a lot of different things have been going on that quite frankly, these other teams have just not had to deal with. So, I mean, it has to be tough. It just does.
So the quarterback at the end there, he was, they were looking for that completion to seal the win. Well, it sounds like Coach Johnson had spent a lot of the game giving him a little influence from the sideline. Let's hear what Coach McClendon had to say, or quarterback coach. Jesus,
Coach Johnson.
Can I talk tonight?
I don't know.
Quarterback McClendon had to say about Coach. Give him a little bit of advice from the sideline.
Oh, I was just going to comment. I'd ask you about the throwing to Kiki. Coach was mic'd up during the game, and at some point you could hear him yelling, "Throw it to Kiki! Throw it to Kiki!" So I'm glad you listened.
Yeah, I mean, we all come together on Fridays and say what plays we like. So and we usually are on the same page every time. So I think we all seen the same thing. So I didn't even hear him say that, but as far as you say that, I'm sorry I didn't hear you say it. I knew where I was going the whole time.
So could you imagine you're dropping back to throw and you're trying to do your progressions and all of a sudden in your earpiece, throw it Kiki, throw it Kiki.
Your check, throw it to Kiki. Oh, he's over here.
Yeah, their mics don't shut off. That goes throughout the whole play.
Right. Well, and the thing of it is, good for Houston. Good for Coach Johnson. I mean, lots of people were hard on him. I mean, we were hard on him on this show. But I will give him credit. He's got them playing. They're playing loose. You know, they've got smiles on their faces. I've talked to him several times on Zoom meetings that, you know, and asked him a few questions. And, you know, he's always positive. And I think, you know, he's got this group of players that he has this year that are playing their butts off. You know, will they make the playoffs? I mean, we'll find out.
Yeah, they have their opportunity. They got 2 against Michigan.
Yeah,
tall order, but you know, any given game, you know, that's.
And you know what they say: winning's contagious.
That's right.
And you know, he's ready to move on to the next one. So here's courtesy of the UFL what Coach Johnson had to say when he was asked about Birmingham.
So you guys are 3-3 now, and you're going into Birmingham next week.
Mm-hmm.
What changes can we expect for next week?
I think we continue to work hard. You know, Birmingham, still until you beat them, until they knocked out, they're the king of the spring. You know, they're a good team. Coach Holst does a magnificent job. You know, he has spring ball. He has the blueprint for spring ball. He's the, you know, he's the Bill Parcells of spring ball, I guess you'd call it. But man, you know, I think what you do is you have a good week of practice. You know, you get some guys back from off injury, which I think we're going to do, and then you go into Birmingham with, you know, we got to run the ball and we got to stop them from running it, and hopefully you come out with a win.
It's really all you can do.
Well, and Mike, you know, would you agree? And I don't want to put you on the spot because everybody knows clearly you're a Michigan Panthers homer, but
I just call it as I see it.
Right. Okay. So call this as you see it with zero bias. Would you agree or not that there could be, I know they're sitting at 4-2, but there could be a little blood in the water with Birmingham?
Yeah, I mean, as far as, with Birmingham, but the thing with Birmingham, they always just seem to find a way. You know, when you think when they have their quarterback rotations that they have right now, you think, oh, this would be a great spot to see Birmingham go down, and they win. You know, and it's not even like a flashy game either. It was actually it's a field goal kick, a touchdown, and their defense is keeping them, you know, the other opponent from even scoring, and it's just I don't even know if you call it like a win ugly. It was just like an operation, they're going to keep moving. They're going to keep moving the ball. They're going to take the points. You know, they got their big kicker in Birmingham, and they'll get you late in the game. That's when they'll start racking up touchdowns. And it was, I honestly picked San Antonio for the last game. I was like, oh man, San Antonio's going to get them here, and nope. And that's just what Coach CJ Johnson just said there. You know, credit to, you know, until you can knock them, you got to knock them down. Until then, they're still the king of spring.
Hey John, good to see you. Well, and I do think that you know, I mean, what if we're talking next week at this very same time, and we're talking about this game, and Houston wins it? Now we're looking at Houston in second place.
Yeah. And that could very well happen.
And it could very easily happen. Yeah, so,
when you look at what if hurt, you know, they're going on the road to Birmingham. That might be just they're playing loose right now. Maybe that's where they want to be, is go on the road, and nothing better than the polish off a win against Birmingham.
Hey, Memphis did it.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on because we've got a lot to go here.
We do.
We are going to take a look at the DC Michigan highlights. And we will talk Michigan when we come back and speak to some special guests.
Backfield for Tamu. With time, heaves it. End zone open. Did he haul it in for the touchdown? He did. Panthers need 11. Here comes the pressure. Perkins still on his feet. Somehow, someway, Houdini does it again. get him into the end zone here. More zone read. It's McCrary, and indeed he gets there. Second down and short. Play action. Ta'amu wants to heave one deep again. Wide open is rolling. Here comes DC, and a touchdown for the defenders. Talent serving as pass protection this time, and Perkins again keeps it alive. Perkins stays in bounds, and the spin, and the touchdown. The Magic Man crossing the goal line. Dayton McCrary, now the running back. Bryce Perkins, play action, ball was tipped. Doesn't matter. Malik Turner, touchdown.
Oh wow! And what a game that was to be at and to be a part of. And
not if you're a DC fan.
Yeah, but Chris is right. Chris says Roland's a beast. That
he is. I talked to him pregame, and he said that this was a championship preview, and that this may well be a championship match in St. Louis. So hold your feathers, Battlehawks fans.
One way or another, the championship game will be in St. Louis.
Yes. And if Michigan goes, I'll be there.
Well, and I would say, and Ed, I don't know how you feel about this, but if the vote were to be held today, Bryce Perkins has to be he'd be my MVP right now. I mean, what he does is crazy.
But what's also important is you've seen, especially teams like St. Louis who just struggle big time on conversions after touchdowns. Michigan so far this season is 15 for 21 in conversions after touchdowns.
They do a real good job they like to go, and Coach Nolan in his press conference, they like to go for the one. And then whenever the opportunity, I noticed some teams like to go for the 2 point, go at the 5 yard line
every time.
Yeah. And Coach Nolan, let's just keep getting the one, and they've been very successful at it.
So yeah, you're right. If the vote was taken today, it wouldn't even be a question who the MVP was. But head coach Harris was asked after the game, this is second consecutive week that DC has gave up, over 30 points in a game. So what is wrong with DC's defense? This is what Coach Harris had to say.
Coach, obviously not the outcome that you wanted today. What did you kind of see defensively these last couple of weeks, giving up 30-plus points in back-to-back games? Obviously, Michigan, their offense was on a roll today. What was kind of your evaluation of what's going on defensively?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It goes back to, guys reading their keys, being disciplined with their eyes. And then at the end of the day, it's all about tackling, and that's the second week, like you said, that we've had some poor tackling games these last 2 weeks. The scheme itself is where it needs to be. It just come down to executing it now. So that's the part for us, just get back to, tackling the ball, getting that ball on the turf, and wrapping up and running our feet when we get ready to tackle. So that's the biggest thing right there. Offensively, we let their offense get too comfortable, allowed them to do whatever they want to do because we didn't sustain drives the way we needed to do from an offensive standpoint. Special team is what it was. Nothing offset in there other than we had a shank punt. But outside of that, man, it just came down to our fundamentals.
One question I wanted to ask Coach at the press conference, I didn't have the opportunity to, was that leaping penalty that was there. Now, with Michigan in that game, DC didn't have an answer for them. The RPO games Michigan was running was phenomenal, and DC's defense didn't have an answer. And then when they had Michigan at a field goal attempt, and that leaping penalty gave Michigan a first down, I think that's a situation where you don't even want to risk something like that. And then, then once Michigan got that first down, they just marched right in for another touchdown. So in that situation, I just, in a stop they actually really needed in that game, I just didn't think the juice was worth the squeeze on that one.
So Gary just wanted to bring up a point while we're talking Michigan talk here. He said, to a certain extent, I understand why blood in the water in Birmingham was mentioned. the fact of the matter is that the Stallions are 4-2. That's the bottom line.
You mentioned the
And
Stallions really all come.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I would say to that in 3 years, this looks like the most vulnerable. Birmingham might go 8-2, but this looks like the most vulnerable Birmingham team that I've seen.
I think of the three teams in the USFL race right now, I mean, just to make a comparison to who the when you're out in the desert, and you see the vultures start circling around, are they circling around Birmingham right now? Because they're kind of a wounded team right now. And you got Houston playing good, Michigan playing lights out. They're kind of limping to the playoffs here. I don't know. It's going to be, when the important games are coming up here to, lock in your spot. No one's locked in yet. We certainly have teams that may have been eliminated, but no one's really clinched yet. So this is a very, you got to be very careful if you're Birmingham.
So Mike had an opportunity to ask Coach Nolan about getting his team to another level. And courtesy of the UFL, this is what Nolan had to say.
Hey, Coach, Mike Palco from the Bottom Line Podcast. First of all, congratulations on a win on Star Wars Day, celebrating with the fans here. But question for you. So you guys seem to be peaking at the right time in football season. So coming up in the last 4 games, which maybe you would consider the December months, comparing to the NFL to now. What are you guys doing to find another level to make a run towards the UFL championship?
Last week our offense, I think, was on that, like you said, and so yes, 2 weeks in a row the offense is doing a really good job, and it is that time that you want to do that, just like the NFL, like you mentioned. It's like any race. If you finish the race strong, everybody remembers it. If you just started strong, everybody kind of says, well, they fizzled out. A little bit like the Kentucky Derby yesterday. I think that I didn't watch it, but I heard the same thing kind of happened. You can lead all along, but if you don't lead at the very end and cross the line first, it doesn't matter. So very pleased with the offense, to answer your question. Defensively last week we didn't do as good. I take that back. We gave up some explosives that cost us the game, but outside of that, they did a good job. Today, we gave up another explosive pass, a really big play, and they got a touchdown out of it. But other than that, our defense held in there pretty good.
That was a good comparison too. We're still in that bunch right now. And he also said which team is gonna, like in the Kentucky Derby, is gonna, once you start getting to the straightaways, who's gonna really stand out, make their stride. So we're still in that bunch right now. That may be coming after this week. So stay tuned, the UFL folks.
Well, to me, this is what I feel like it's going to come down. Well, Houston's been a good story, and maybe they'll do some phenomenal things here. Houston's been a good story. I think it's going to come down to that game with Michigan and Birmingham. Is that the last week of the season, Mike? Is that week 10?
No, that's second to last.
So week 9. I think it's going to come down to that week 9. Just like we talked about early on when Michigan saw Birmingham week 2. And Michigan kind of, we kind of called it laying an egg. What are they going to look like in week 9? If they can go out and send a message in, everybody takes care of business, that I think will emphasize what Coach Nolan is saying right there. Michigan has to shake the ghost of Birmingham hanging on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We thought they had the opportunity in week 2 to do it, and they didn't. Makes week 9 even more important for Michigan to be able to do that. 2, what a lot of people have said is, Birmingham doesn't feel like it. Doesn't mean they're not going to win it. Doesn't mean they're not going 8-2, whatever, but they just don't feel like that, we're going to show up and we're going to beat you. Kind of like last year felt. Last year felt like you had to have a really good game to beat them. This year doesn't feel the same way. So
I got to say that
next time.
So I got to say that when Mike found out it was Star Wars night at Ford Field, he was pretty excited. So, you notice in the post-game presser to Coach Nolan, he had to mention Star Wars. So I thought it'd be a good idea to show everybody what he went into the presser wearing, because not only was he talking about Star Wars, but he played the part. So this was Mike walking in the post-game presser.
No wonder Coach Nolan kind of laughed there.
Did you notice Coach Nolan kind of gave him a double take when he first asked the question?
Good Lord, Mike. The least you could have done was put your bottom line shirt underneath Yoda there.
I did talk to Coach Nolan pregame too, and I did say the Force is with us today.
So, Mike, as we were talking between now and last week's show, we talked about, ways that we can kind of engage all the fan bases and kind of get everybody involved. You jumped right in and said that there was somebody that you wanted to bring on the show that's been pretty staunch Michigan Panther fans. And so I'm going to bring him on now. Coach
Jarman.
Yeah, go ahead and introduce him, Mike, and I'll pull him up.
All right, so this is Coach Jarman. I've known him for just over a year now. I'm at Saginaw Valley State as a coach, and he also is with us too, helping out. Game days, I'll see him, and he helps lead their team in prayer as well, and he really gets us going as a team, helps out the linebackers. Really a good piece for us as we're ourselves are going to try to make a run for a championship in Division II college football. So he's been this is his second year following when the league went to the UFL. He checked out the Michigan Panthers game. His wife, his son go to the games. George is really great. And I said, hey, come on the show and just tell us about your experiences. So he's here with us in the back room, and here he comes here. Coach Justin Jarman. Look at those jerseys in the back there. That's a nice setup there. We have George with him as well. And happy to have you guys on. Like the Cardinals had a big week in pro football, with Nick Whiteside, defensive back, Nate McCrary finding himself in the end zone. But yeah, and then George is I know you guys have been listening. You listen on YouTube, going back and listening to the episodes that we have, and just happy that you guys are here to join us tonight.
Yeah, glad to be here. Hey, how's it going, Eric?
So kudos to you. I mean, you've been following Michigan, and of course, as time goes on, especially compared to last year, it looks like the fan base is starting to grow in Michigan. Tell us what it's been like to be able to take your son George to some Michigan games.
But yeah, I mean, Michigan has a rich history with football, and so to have the Panthers playing at a higher level, obviously this year, even than last year, and my wife and I started going last year. But I think really and truly it boils down to the atmosphere is based upon the action of the team and the coaching staff. And so, I mean, I think they've done a great job this year with all around as a team, improving coaching for sure, and then growing as a team. I think that this past week we saw some growing with Star Wars Day. That was a big hit. I don't know. That was probably the largest attendance I've seen at any Michigan Panthers game. And,
did you, Coach? Did you see Mike dressed up with Yoda on his back and all that stuff? Or
well, yeah. In fact, the picture he put on a couple extra layers for the picture, so I'm proud of that.
I was going to ask George what he thought of Mike's outfit, and if he'd like to have a Yoda like Mike has.
Well,
actually, go ahead, George. Go ahead.
Personally, I thought it was hilarious, and there are some uglier versions of Yoda, so that was probably one of the best ones.
Well, yeah, they're all thoughtful of these guys. Like you find a good picture of Yoda too. That was great. And, yeah, appreciate that.
A better
George.
guy than Mike to do that too. He's usually pretty good natured about that stuff.
I love it, and while we're on the topic with fans too, and I want to announce here on the show that this last game against the Defenders, Michigan has broken their attendance record and set a new bar at 11,653 fans. Or now they go by tickets sold, but hey, that was a great turnout there, and that's with Coach Jarman and George, always being a part of the Panthers now, and we got one more to go, and tell your friends at school, tell people who've never been to a game. Now they get to watch the Bryce Perkins show, right? Come see what he's gonna do. That's what a game. And tell us what you guys saw in Bryce, and I'm sure that place, Ford Field, was rocking. In a big game against Defenders, knowing what we know about the Defenders, best team in the league, and then now you have Michigan that put a heavy hitting on the Defenders now. And then how was the crowd with you guys? Tell us a little more about your game day experience.
Yeah, so I mean, Coach Harris is doing a great job with DC, I think. But really and truly, as I looked through the game, Bryce has obviously had standout games all season. Now that he's locked in as the guy, he's going to do his thing. He's kind of like a Lamar Jackson. It doesn't matter. He's going to find a way to go out there and perform. But really and truly, I thought Tim with the O-line really did a great job over the last couple of weeks of improving the run game opportunities, which really opened it up for Bryce. Obviously, DC was still getting home a lot and had a lot of opportunities for loss, but then you've got Bryce Perkins. So you throw him into the mix with what they were doing with the run game. I thought they had a phenomenal run. Nate looked phenomenal. Saginaw Valley boy really looked as smooth as I've seen him run all year. And it is, and then we didn't have Sam. He wasn't in the secondary. So a couple of those big plays I feel like may not have looked the same way had we had, a couple starters in the game. And as far as the fan goes, I mean, George, we were able to take my nephews with us this past week as well. And yeah, it was rocking, man. I mean, everybody was into it. Even the people that sit around us with season tickets that aren't normally as engaged, it was an epic time for sure. So.
How about you, George? What are you pretty vocal at the games? What are you yelling? Are you defense? Or what's your game day like for you?
Well, I love the atmosphere of a football game in general, college, high school, professional. But I also think that you said that Bryce Perkins was like a Lamar Jackson. I think he can scramble like a Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, we saw that no-look pass too, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that really surprises me. You know what I thought she was going to say? I thought you was going to say he scrambles like a J.J. McCarthy. That's what I thought.
Oh, jeez.
He's a Vikings fan here, too.
George.
He's real happy about getting J.J.
I figured being a Michigan fan, J.J. McCarthy was near and dear to your heart.
Well, really and truly, we bleed Carolina blue. That I'm from North Carolina originally, so but yeah, no, JJ's okay, but it's something special when you see Lamar Jackson in person. Some of the things that guy does, pretty crazy.
Very talented.
George, when Ed starts talking about Minnesota, we had the Yoda picture up of Mike. This is the picture we see visually when Ed starts talking about Minnesota. That's Ed's baby picture there. So that's the picture we see when Ed starts talking about Minnesota. So
yeah, they think they're kings of the north or something over there.
But you know what that makes you think, though, right? Whenever you think Minnesota.
80, what you gonna do today? I got my A game. You got your A game? A game? He got his A game.
That's what you really think about, but
falling short, right?
Yeah.
So George, who's your favorite Michigan? I think I know the answer, but who's your favorite Panther to watch?
Oh, that's tough. I have a couple.
Okay, give us a couple.
Top 3 is Tuatawa, Malik Turner, and McCurry.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Wow, Perkins didn't make it in there, huh?
Perkins didn't make
He's number
Ginda didn't
4.
make it.
He's number
Ginda?
4. Okay.
The list is getting bigger. It's getting bigger.
Ginda didn't make it? Ooh. I was thinking
He likes them
Perkins,
all.
Ginda, you know.
Hey, maybe they're not in any. I don't know. Maybe not in any order. Maybe it's a fluid list of players.
I think that's a more accurate depiction. It's very fluid. But yeah, hey, and Malik had a great game too this past week. I thought he had some really key blocks. Not just catching the ball. I mean, he came out and laid some really heavy blocks. And a lot of guys don't watch for those things. Obviously, as a coach, I watch for all the non-stat things that are happening on the field, but he looked really good on Sunday. So,
and they do a great job too, even when you watch on the broadcast too, of like educating the viewers of what's going on in the play, which the NFL doesn't really have like a lot of time to do. They have a lot going on. The telestrator will do the circle and things like that. But when the UFL, it's almost like every play, they'll sit down with the quarterback, they'll go over the touchdown play or the big play on the iPad, similar to what we kind of do on the sideline at Saginaw Valley when we're on the iPads, right? So I thought that's a pretty neat deal. And then George too, you're in a great time for a lot of football to watch. I'm sure you get to tell your friends at school, like, I went to a football game, and they're probably, maybe they haven't heard about the UFL, but I'm sure you're out there getting people who like football. Hey, maybe you want to come with us to a football game because one, we all love the ticket price. I imagine, right? You can take the whole family, which you guys are doing too, and not missing a game. And your wife said too, like one thing she likes about going to these UFL games too. You're not as much as we like more fans to come, but right now we're not really like jam packed and like traffic getting out. You can park next to Ford Field, have a great time, and then the concessions aren't a mile long, and it's an overall smooth experience all around.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Hopefully, Michigan's got a big game in Arlington this week. Hopefully, they can get by that game and keep pace with Birmingham, because I think they're kind of heading towards that clash of the Titans at the end of the season to decide it all again.
Week 9, here it comes.
Anyway, I want to thank you, Coach, and thanks, George, for coming on our show. And maybe later on this season we'll have to have you back on again. How's that?
I love that.
All right. All right. We'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys. George. Thank you, Justin.
So let's get back on track now, because we are running woefully behind.
Always.
Yeah.
There's not enough time for all the UFL
Never.
stuff. And there's if you're looking for a UFL program that just has nothing but just content after content, discussion after discussion, this is the show here. We have the structure. We just maybe not have the time.
Well, we can't move on though without MVP Perkins talking about preparing for the stretch run. So courtesy of the UFL, this is what quarterback had to say.
Congratulations on the win today. Team played great. Coach Nolan made a reference to the Kentucky Derby right now with the league in a bunch right now. Now we're just seeing who's going to take that, which team's going to make that run for a championship. And your experiences with the LA Rams, you winning a Super Bowl, what have you learned from watching, with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, and then things from that championship run to apply to this team as you guys are making your own run towards the UFL championship?
Yeah, I mean, you see teams become great and continue to execute and really peak in the later half of the season. And I think that, every week we get better and better on all cylinders. We play together, complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. And, we have fun out there, too. I think a big part of it is guys like being around, us. Like, guys like being around the guys on the team. And, that makes football more fun. It creates an atmosphere where guys can go out there and just play, and then execution, man, at a high level.
So, yeah,
he brings a lot to the table with that, and that quarterback experience there. And we talk about the way he is able to just, piece up or dial up, torch a defense, with and how an NFL quarterback is able to maybe slow the game down, as opposed to maybe some guys on defense maybe playing their first pro football game. Some people compared it to like Bryce Perkins, like, well, yeah, he's putting up all these yards because he has all this experience. He's much older, maybe, definitely wiser, but at the end of the day, pro football, that doesn't matter. You got to really, you got to step up and play. And Bryce couldn't have had a better showcase of his ability against a top-ranked team.
For sure. There's no doubt.
So,
I mean, there's a reason Sean McVay wanted him there.
Yeah.
Kid has talent. And this may be his only year in the UFL, but we will see.
So let's move on. Let's try and make up some time here. Let's get to our last game of the week. So courtesy of the UFL, here are the highlights for San Antonio and Birmingham.
Brahmas looking for win number 2 on the season as the Stallions try to get back on track after a loss last. On second and goal, back to the ground again, and to the end zone, finds Ricky Person. 3rd and 2. Cookus, there's the slant, big gain. Rogers got a block, down the sideline, touchdown Birmingham. Early. 2nd and goal. Cookus swings it out. Jay Sternberger for a Birmingham touchdown.
Cookus, give him some time. If he can stay upright, if he doesn't start seeing ghosts from his Memphis days, with some time, if he stays upright, he could get it figured out just in time for week 9, Mike.
You look at all the highlights, pretty much the highlights always run somewhere between minute 30, minute 40, somewhere in there. Highlights for the Birmingham-San Antonio game was 46 seconds, which tells me that there was really only one team that had highlights and the other one didn't have
low light.
The San Antonio reminds me, I was doing some pre-show work, and I was sitting there, and I came to the Birmingham-San Antonio game, and I thought to myself, Animal House. And you may ask yourself, why would you think that game an Animal House? And when Bluto is going through and he's given all the new pledges their nicknames, and he says, your new name is Flounder. And he goes, why Flounder? And he goes, why not? That's kind of what San Antonio feels like right now. They are just floundering. Nothing is going right. Finally, they get Kirkland down the field. They called it. And what does Kirkland do? He drops it. Yeah. There's just nothing going right for San Antonio right now. Absolutely nothing. They feel like, to me right now, the only game on your schedule where I feel like that's a win. Everyone else could be a coin flip. But that one, except for when Mike picked them last week, that feels like a win.
So when Coach Pardee was asked, how you move on from a game like this is what he had to say, courtesy of the UFL.
Coach Brett, for the bottom line, with ongoing struggles and now with the record of 1-5 and all but eliminated from the playoffs, how do you keep the team motivated and focused on just another W, trying to get another win?
What I told him in the locker room after the game, and I believe this to my core, is for coaches and for players, God has blessed us and given us this opportunity to, for me, coach players, talk about football. I get to run around on a practice field for a job, for a living. Same thing with the players. It's a blessing to be able to play this game, and it's a blessing to be able to coach it. And no matter what happens through the course of a year, and within a season, we have an opportunity to win a game and this upcoming week. And so that's going to be the big focus is, what do we have to do as a team to improve to that? But I'm a big believer in, football is a competitive game. It teaches you a lot about life. When things don't go your way in life, you can't just throw in the towel.
So, Kellen Mond I was thinking was starting to make some strides and was starting to show some promise. That was another question that come his way concerning who is the number one quarterback. And courtesy of the UFL, this is what Coach Pardee had to say.
One right now, Coach.
I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Kevin Hogan had a really, really good football game. I thought he did a lot of good things. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make football plays for him, at different points in times. But I want to say how proud I am of Kevin Hogan. He really played very, very well.
That sounds to me like that's the number one quarterback going forward.
I would believe so, yeah.
I think the Kellen Mond experiment, if you want to call it that, has been put to bed. I think, with that statement right there, unless something happens to him going forward, I think he probably is the number one quarterback. Kellen Mond had every opportunity, and it just something wasn't right. I don't know if it, if the guys didn't want to play with him, play for him, whatever the case may be, like it just was not going well. And it really sent San Antonio on a path that I don't know if any of us anticipated, but yet here they are, 1-5, and it's got to be difficult. I mean, with the question Brett asked him, it's got to be difficult week to week getting up, knowing that they're already out of playoff contention. I mean, that's a pipe dream. At this point,
But with this league, we talked about it. I think at the beginning of the year too is what makes this league exciting, and especially for these guys, every down, every play you can get on film matters. To these, that's going to be
It does, Mike. But human nature also plays into this too.
That's true.
Yes, these guys are playing for an opportunity in the NFL, and I do agree. It does make these games exciting because I think teams they'll play clear to the end. You don't see guys sitting out, oh, we already qualified for the playoffs, we'll sit out this week. You don't see that in this league. But human nature has to also creep in there. And San Antonio has just, aside from their crazy win against DC, they just have not been able to put anything together at all. I mean, just at all.
Yeah.
I think McFarland, what do you have? 2 carries for 6 yards? Yeah.
Well, McFarland ended up getting hurt, but
I mean,
and
Kirkland with a huge drop. I mean, those two we have been talking all year long. Get them involved. And then when they got them involved, they beat DC. But then we get a game against Birmingham, and they just. I don't know. They are the most perplexing team to me in all of the UFL as to how they had a lot of guys coming back on defense. Offensively, yes, they had Kellen Mond coming, that sort of thing. But how things have fallen so quickly is just mind-numbing to me.
Yeah.
It's mind-numbing.
And then they have the defenders coming to their, on the road to avenge their loss from earlier a couple weeks ago. So it's not going to be an easy, no easy sledding for the Brahmas moving forward.
So just like the San Antonio Brahmas that have been having trouble with their quarterback, the same's been the case for Birmingham as well, but not so much from a performance standpoint. They just can't find a quarterback that can stay healthy. So let's hear what Coach Holtz had to say about the quarterback room status.
Coach Brett, with the bottom line, what's the current status on the quarterback room? I know you've got to be frustrated with all the injuries after every snap. If I see a guy get up a little slow, I just kind of shake my head. Where are we at currently with Magoo?
Yep.
I understand where Matt's at right now on
IR.
the
Yep.
And how about Andrew?
We will.
Are you feeling all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm feeling good.
It's been kind of a mash unit this year.
We are going to put Case in a bubble this week. It has been very, very difficult. And, it's just, Alex gets injured on I'll say a routine play, tackle, very awkward. You can't even see it on film. He just falls on his shoulder wrong and separates his shoulder, and he's been on IR. We are supposed to get him back in another week, so he will miss this game. Then I believe that he is due to come back, and so that will give him time to strengthen that. Matt just went on the IR, so we think Matt will probably be back, probably playoff time. And so as he's talking about that, let's pop up I got a picture here that shows just how many quarterbacks have played for Birmingham so far this year. That's a pretty good laundry list. It's probably not a surprise that Birmingham is kind of struggling for continuity on offense.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at those names, I mean, Magoo obviously won a championship with them. Corral, last year we saw what he did. Cookus is a good quarterback. It's funny, when they started the season out, when they signed Cookus as kind of the third guy, I was like, yep, oh yeah, here we go, Birmingham. They got Magoo back. They've got Corral. And then they grabbed Cookus, who, is a good quarterback other than, playing with Memphis. But, I mean, it has just turned into a nightmare for them. It's a shocking nightmare.
But they
what
still
could
find
go wrong
a way.
has gone wrong. And they're still finding a way.
They still find a way, that's for sure.
So, but it's going to be tough. So they've got some big games coming.
But if any coach can handle what Birmingham's going through, it'd be Skip Holtz. Seeing when we get to hear Coach Holtz mic'd up on when we watch the broadcast and how he coaches and how he's able to keep minds at ease. He'll get after guys for making mistakes, but he's not. It's always a teachable moment, always a coachable moment. So it's always great to be able to listen to how Coach Holtz does things, and he's proven time and time again that he overcomes all obstacles as far as the roster, if there's injuries, and just getting guys to keep rowing in the same direction.
So that's going to wrap up our reviews of week 6. Let's go ahead and take a break and hear from our sponsor, Wild Sun. And when we come back, it'll be time to turn to week 7. And we got some pretty cool events coming up this coming Mother's Day weekend. So we'll talk about it when we get back. So normally, Eric, we would go straight to studs and duds, but we're gonna push that back for just a few minutes.
All right,
because we got a big matchup happening in Memphis this weekend, and none other than Sunday afternoon on Mother's Day. And I couldn't think of anybody else I'd rather have on to talk about the true tailgating that goes on in the UFL without bringing the number one tailgater, Bill Alexander, on. And then I, of course, got the boatsman, who's one of the super fans of the NFL. Hey, guys, how you doing?
It's studs, so here we are.
What's going on, guys?
We got studs and duds, and we brought on 2 guys. What does that mean?
Yeah, who's the stud and who's the dud, Bill?
So anyway, guys, it's I had the pleasure of being in Memphis a couple weeks ago for the Memphis-Houston game, and it was a nail biter right down to the end. But the tailgating experience was pretty first class, and so couldn't think of a better place to turn around and drive to see the Battlehawks play than going down to Memphis again. So 2:00 on Sunday, the Battlehawks play in Memphis, and it sounds like it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend, weather-wise.
I hope so. It's Mother's Day. We need all the help we can get on Sunday.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Bill, and let you kind of fill in everybody what you got in store for any fans that make their way to Liberty Stadium on Sunday.
Yeah, we're excited. We're going to have the mother of all tailgates for Mother's Day. We're going to have hot dogs. We're going to have a lot of stuff out there like usual, but the world's best hot dogs cooked by the chief cook himself, blessed by the boatsman. So we're going to have a big day. We want all the Battlehawk fans, all 6 of them, to come over to tailgate. But we'll have all the information out tomorrow on the Yacht Club page. If you're not part of the Yacht Club, go to Facebook, official Yacht Club, and all the information will be there, where to park, how to get in, all the particulars. Ed, you've been there. You kind of know how it works. We're going to have a lot of fun. That's the thing about the UFL. It's a little different than NFL. Fans get along pretty well, especially there you go. There you go.
I am the official member of the Yacht Club already.
You're official member, and the rest of you guys don't come down here. So
I'm only 12 hours away, Bill. I can't believe that I wouldn't, I can't believe I wouldn't just buzz on down there.
Just come on over. It's only 12 hours. But we're going to have a big time. We're going to have a lot of tailgates, a lot of fun, a lot of community. Look, we're snake bit as a Showboats. We've played really well. A lot of these games, we could be 3-3 or 4-2 easily as we are 1-5. Saturday was rough. I didn't see us losing that game at all the whole time until we lost it.
Both games to Houston was one defensive play that did you in.
Our defense gave up 7 points and we lost, the game. And we gave them 23 points in both games, and we lost both games by 1 point. It's just hard to stomach, but it is what it is. I think we really like our team right now. West Hills brings a lot to us. Wynn is playing really good football. The coaching is now getting to the point to where probably it needed to be 3 or 4 weeks ago, but that's just what it is. We're happy with our coaches. We're happy with our leadership. Jim does a great job in the GM office. We are making some trades and doing some things that kind of make your head spin, but he's trying to make this team better. And I think we are better, much better than we were at the beginning of the season. We just got to continue growing each week. And I think this weekend they'll play really hard and show out. And I think we'll get a victory.
I had to put this up because they're coming to Memphis this weekend, and they got the little dude. We call him the little dude that he tailgated right next to us in St. Louis, and
huge UFL fan.
He's a big UFL fan, so I'm going to have fun introducing him to you, Bill.
Yeah, we'll be there. We want all the Battlehawk fans to come. Bring your tents, bring your tailgate, bring your chair, get some free food, help St. Jude. That's what this is all about. And, Boatman will tell you, we work really hard to have a great time. This is supposed to be entertainment and you enjoy it. Look, nobody's lost more just about than we have. We've enjoyed every second of it. Our staff and everybody in Memphis does a really great job. So we enjoy everything that goes on. And the Yacht Club is really a family affair. And it's almost as much fun as the games are, especially our games.
Well, I could tell standing next to the boatsman when I come down that it wasn't hard to figure out he played football. He towered over me just a little bit. The little dude will definitely have to look straight up, that's for sure. But we saw a nice write-up about concerning Memphis that FedEx is back in Liberty, and for the remainder of the season, they're going to offer the $2 beers and the $2 hot dogs.
Yeah,
well, so Mama Bear said she wasn't going to eat for 3 days before we headed down there. She's going to enjoy $2 hot dogs the whole game.
Well, FedEx is doing it for the rest of the season. They're going to do kids are free the rest of the season, $2 hot dogs and $2 beer the rest of the season. FedEx, obviously, in Memphis is a big deal. That's probably the reason the Showboats are here. They carry a lot of weight, and I think they want to be involved a little bit more. We'll see how things go going forward. But they do a great job here. FedEx cares and all the community work they do. It's just fantastic.
That must be the picture you're talking about, Ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
He only has you by about 6 inches.
I always thought I wasn't a small man, but I mean, I even stand next to Bill, and I'm looking up at Bill, so I must have.
Ed, you get Rig from Houston and Jeremy together, and you're like, good Lord. Those two are just two big dudes. They're a super fan in the country like those two. I mean, anywhere, no Raider Nation, no nothing beats these two guys at all. Jeremy does. I mean, he does such a great job, and he's always there for us and for me and for the team. And I mean, wait till throwback weekend. If you want to see something fantastic, just wait till the throwback game. It's going to be something unbelievable.
So
it's going to be a big one.
So Jeremy, you've had a chance now. What has Memphis had? Have they had 3 home games now already?
We've had 2. This is the third one.
This will be your third one. So what's your thoughts on the team? Where are they at, and what do you think is still possible for Memphis this year?
1-5 this season is nothing like 1-5 last season. It's a totally different team. I mean, I think that's what literally gives Bill a cardiac attack every game, because it's just ridiculous how close we get. And then sometimes we've got the lead, and it's just something doesn't happen. I keep saying all the time, because it was preached to me when I played, you play 60 minutes. They almost let up against Birmingham. Case knew they were going to, and you saw what happened there. They've got to play the full 60 minutes, but they got to come out of the gate like the Kentucky Derby. They have got to blast through them, and they're having a hard time getting off of the launching pad. But we're getting there. Each game they look better. There's only one game didn't look good, and that was up in Michigan. That looked horrible. That absolutely was a low point of the season, and yet we're still saying, hey, but we're 1-5. And I'm like, no, that was the low point. That was it. The team is much better. I mean, Rig will tell you right off the bat, he literally, it wasn't until the whistle was over with that his heart could finally, okay, we beat them. I mean, that's it. You know, it wasn't like, yeah, we knew we were going to kill you. No, those games were really close. It's a completely different team.
I've had an opportunity to talk to Coach Turner and ask him a few questions and sit in on some Zoom meetings, and I really like the guy.
Yeah.
I like what he's done with the team.
Yeah.
You know, he has that Marine mentality, but when you listen to him on the sidelines, and the things that I love about the UFL is you can hear the interaction. And when I see his interaction with the players and theirs with him, I don't see 1-5 guys walking around there. I don't see 1-5 guys just, you know.
He's what we call he's a loving sergeant. He'll kick him in the butt and kiss him on the side at the same time.
Right.
They really, really get along with him really well.
And I think, you know, and he alluded to this a little bit in his press conference where, you know, it was Whisenhunt, then it was Turner, then it was Whisenhunt, and now it's Turner again. I mean, there's not a lot of consistency. Like you said, Wynn is only on week 2. He wasn't even supposed to be playing.
No.
And so, you know, that's kind of hurt you guys as well, just from the standpoint of, you know, he talked about Coach Beck being in St. Louis forever, Holtz being in Birmingham forever. You know, they're just looking, you know, Memphis just needs to have some, you know, and the bad part for you guys is, and we actually, I don't know, I guess we could have called him a friend of the show last year. He was on quite a few times, but, you know, I enjoyed listening to Coach Flip, you know, talk football and talk about the things that he wanted, but it just seemed like it never worked. But with Turner, it's working. It's just that much.
I mean, we're a center from catching an end to winning the game in Houston. And we're just, that was the thing about the Birmingham game. It took like 20 minutes after the game until I was like, okay, did we actually win that?
Yeah. Wait, look at my phone. Is the score still the same? You keep waiting for him to throw 3 more points up there or something.
I got to bring this guy on because he's actually picked you guys to win this weekend. So I got to bring him on because there's Mike. Mike, have you ever got a chance to meet Bill and the Boatsman?
We talked. There was an episode I met I was on with the Boatsman. Bill, this is our first time sharing the same screen together. But yeah, I mean, like you said, like this is a fun team to watch. And Memphis this week, I picked them to win here because like what coming off of this could be some recency from 12 points. It was like, well, can Memphis score more than 12? Yeah, they can score more than 12. Now it's just. I think it's going to be one of those games. We're going to have a lot of fans there. It should, with the promotion going on, so should draw more rowdy fans there. And Bill and the Boatsman, I know you guys are going to do your part to get the guys, get the fans rallied up to support this team. And it just seems I don't want to I guess you can call it a trap game, so to speak. With this team, you can't, and this can be one of those Memphis Showboats teams that you can't take lightly. And I just think this is going to be a game where Memphis will find a way. Coming off those close losses, they're going to find a way to get themselves on the right side of the scoreboard.
I hope so.
I think with the UFL League, though, this year, pretty much every game's a trap game because the quality of every team in the league. If you don't bring your A game, nobody's guaranteed to win week to week. That's for sure this year.
Not at all.
Well, and you
were talking about consistency earlier, and that was the thing with the team this year is that we were playing like Where's Waldo with our head coaches. That's I remember from being a player that doesn't help at all. But I never really sweated out too much because of talking with Jim. Jim Monos, I've told Bill and everybody, I have total faith in him. I mean, it's like playing chess, and he's really good at it. But they've got to get the job done that he wants. I asked him when we signed Wynn, I was like, tell me about this Wynn guy. The look on his face was like, I'd like to start him right now, but it's not my call to do that. Well, I think at 0-4, he may have said, start him. But all I know is that he does look good, and I can see exactly what Jim was talking about. I just think that we haven't had consistent quarterback because I'm not a big fan of this. Put him in. Okay, pull him out. Put him in. It's just like hockey. Put the goaltender in and leave him in. You got to let him get a groove going. And
Michigan,
that in and out garbage was just not good. No disrespect. Everybody's like, EJ Perry's not doing a good job at all. I don't think he's had a chance to do a good job. Put Wynn in and leave him in. And as far as the coaching goes, I've got total confidence in that. It's had a late start. I mean, we're 1-5, but I kind of feel like in essence we're 1-1 because it's just that circus that was going on there. That was kind of unfair, but life's not fair. So here we go, make the best of it from here and have some fun. And that's definitely what we do with the tailgating. So the guys just need to go out there. They need to put last week behind them. Look forward to next week. Listen to the coaches. I mean, I think we got a hell of a defensive coordinator. I've watched him he'll call the play in advance. He'll say, here's what they're going to do next. And darn if they don't do that. So I'm like, get your linemen, get your back, get the cornerbacks, get them to listen to you. The defensive backs need to know. You're calling it. You're telling them this is what they're going to do. There's no reason why the D shouldn't be stronger. And I think our trade here that they just recently did may be indicative of playing chess again with it. So we'll see.
And what made me make like this, I'm seeing a lot of comparisons here with the Showboats to what Arlington was last year. And they were, Arlington, they're in just about every game. And I'm looking at the scores here for the Showboats this year, and like they're in just about every game. The Michigan ones got away from label. When you look at like the Defenders, the Roughnecks, the Stallions, obviously have to win there, and then Roughnecks again. That's they're in the games, and I'm not gonna go out and say like teams are eliminated yet, because it's like, 1-5. There's going to be some things that obviously the showboats are going to need to play out, but let's just see how the games go, because not every game in this league at all is a gimme. So let's just see how the standings go up before we start throwing elimination out there. Because maybe in the chance that a 5-5 does get into that second spot, so that's not out of reach. So if you're a showboats fan, you're really watching for that number 2 spot in the conference. So that's really what you're really gunning for. You're going to need some help, obviously, but let's just see how things shake out before just, throwing the whole season in the bag here.
Well,
go ahead, Bill. Interception against Michigan the first game for a pick 6, an interception against Houston for a pick 6, a sack and a strip fumble for a pick 6, a return 6. Those are the difference in the games for us. We had a blocked field goal at DC to go down by 1. It's just all those kind of things added up. And Jeremy's right. It's our consistency with coaching. Coach Turner, the league can really he's a different type guy than Skip and everybody else, but he's really a unique guy to watch and listen to. And that's something that you can rally around. And I know the players really have. They're really behind him 100% offense and defense. We just got to go out there and show it on Sundays. And, if we can keep the turnovers from happening on offense, I think we'll be in pretty good shape.
Well, I'm really hating this game. I'm hating this game because 3 weeks ago, I said this about Memphis and Houston. I don't want them on our schedule. We had Houston out of the way, but I knew Memphis was coming up because I could see Houston was getting more competitive. Memphis was starting to figure some things out and be competitive. I wish Memphis was already in the rearview mirror.
It's funny about Coach Horton is when I was on the field before the game, he was sitting on the bench just laid back, like he didn't have a care in the world, had a bucket hat on, and it's like, I'm sure when he's with his team, he's completely different. He sounds like he's been a really quality coach for a lot of years. But I guarantee you that if I put a $5 bill on the table and I lined up a bunch of guys and said, okay, pick out the defensive coordinator for Memphis Showboats, I bet you I'd be pretty good chance I'd be walking out with my $5 bill. Because
he looks like one of those guys that comes out of the stands and is coaching. Yeah. I mean, he's laid back and is, but he's great. I mean, we really like him. We're glad he's here.
Absolutely. Well, that's
one of those bright spots of the year that our defense has been consistently good all year. It's just, sometimes they're undermanned up front. I think our line is a little bit undermanned, and we've had some problems there with injuries. But
had issues of having them on too long.
You listen to him in the pressers that we have during the week, and he definitely is an impressive guy. He knows what he's talking about, and you can see it on the field. So.
Definitely. And he has the heart, and when you see him on social media, particularly Twitter or X, he was pounding his fist at the table that I belong in spring football. He cares about this league. He's a Pittsburgh Mauler, so me as a Michigan Panther supporter, I was at that game in Canton, Ohio for the North Division Championship, and what a game that was. And Coach Horton, he was the defensive coordinator for this Maulers team, and they were a good defense throughout the whole season. They played just like a Pittsburgh Steeler kind of football, and that, I think he's great to have, and you get being enjoyed by the Showboats fans, the day defense, get that going, and then just, hey, let's see what happens on the offensive side of things. And, next season, let's see if they just gel together, have a run maybe like Arlington is, as you guys are competitive here, and carry it on to the next season. This is what you guys know at least now is that you got a good nucleus of players, a good core of players to build off of for the next season, rather than doing a whole roster overhaul that may not be needed for this squad going into maybe the next season.
Well, I know that I'm going to kill my IT guy next time I see her. As you can probably hear, I got the old alarm going off in the background. I've had a battery backup on my system that's been squawking for months, and I can't seem to get it figured out. So I had something ready to say that was going to just be.
But now it sounds like
can't miss thought, and it just went straight over my head. He's like, oh.
I got a question. Ed. Is this St. Louis's first road game? They played all the games.
It kind of seems that way, doesn't it?
It's like
I say the same thing about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Every week.
Every time the Kansas City Chiefs play a game, it's always at home too.
Yeah, it's like every week you're at home. I'm like, dang, how are they home every week?
Well, you got to remember they played at Houston to start the season, and it's probably a good thing we played Houston when we did because they're playing a lot better too.
Yeah.
But
they have
where have we played our road games? We played at Houston,
Arlington.
We played at Arlington. That's been it.
That's it. Now, third game at Memphis. So when you look at, they got one road loss to the Renegades, and then the Houston one. That's just, hey, that's a week one game. That's just week one's really just anything goes. You run what you brung. So let's just that's always just unpredictable. Like NFL games in September. When the bad team wins on the road against a good team, it's like, well, it's September football. It's early. People still need the gel and mesh.
15 guys a question. So, is Coach Nolan's going with the rest of the year, right? You're not changing quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is the thing with what and this made me think about what after when Coach Turner was at his press conference that he wanted to showcase some players, and what he said after the game, and that's the thing. That's the thing with Coach Nolan, his heart in the right place, and he wants to get guys tape. I know a lot of the fans were frustrated. Oh, Perkins, if we had Perkins the whole time, would they have been a perfect team right now? Would they have been an undefeated team if they had Perkins? Maybe, I don't know, but that's just you can make that assumption. But really, at the end of the day, with these playoffs, I mean, it's really it's a good right now is a good time to have him as your guy going forward, because Birmingham's had when you look at their championships, be Magoo the whole time or Corral, for a lot of the time. So it's a good spot Michigan is right now. They have their whole season right in front of them. So would I have liked to see Bryce? Yeah, maybe. But, I think Etling is still a serviceable quarterback. And if Bryce goes, hey, Etling's probably going to be the guy next season after, Bryce has the season that he's having, and then NFL team will pluck him. So you still want to get the guys some tape too. So so that's the thing. So look, maybe we'll see Etling be the guy to carry Michigan next year, and maybe they adjust the way they play. Maybe they become more of a run heavy team. Maybe he, because he can do some things. He's not just some awful quarterback here. I know he was put in a rough spot. You're on the road in St. Louis. That's going to be a, rowdy place. So, Dan.
So normally when my computer starts squawking, I would say, if Mike's talking, I'm going to be okay because I just mute myself, and then when it gets done squawking, I go live again. He picks the one time to keep his answer short this last time.
Right.
And now if it had been just now, I'd have been perfectly fine the whole time that thing was squawking. Good Lord. Okay, so let's get before I got to let you go, because we got another hour and a half probably to go now. We are. But let's get your guys' official prediction that we can put with our predictions when we get there sometime around midnight. So, Jeremy, what are you thinking for the game? What are you thinking?
I tell you what I'm looking at. I had talked to Bill earlier about it, and I said they got to come out of the gate explosive. So, and still, I'd like to see it more, but I'm going to give St. Louis a little bit more credit than us killing them or anything like that. I'm thinking it's going to be us, but I say we win 21-17.
Okay, Bill.
I was going to go 26-20 Showboats. We've scored over 20 most of the season when Lynn is in there. I like the way he plays. I think they're just almost there offensively. I think David Davis will be back hopefully this week. I haven't seen the report yet, but if he's back, it gives us another threat. Obviously, I'm hoping he's back. We traded one of our receivers, so I'm hoping he's back. But I think 26-20. It may be lower than that. Both defenses are really good, but it could be an 18-16 kind of game. But it'll be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see St. Louis. It'll be our first time to have them here. We're going to have the mother of all tailgates, like we said. So all you guys come out, look tomorrow in the yacht club and get the parking information and enjoy the day. It's going to be a beautiful day. Mother's Day, who knows what the crowd will be like. I know it's hard for people to get out on Mother's Day, but we'll have a lot of fun no matter what we do.
Bill, do you know what gate yet that you're going to be close to when you set up?
Gate 3.
Gate 3, that's what I thought, because I don't know if you've talked to Rick Story at all, but Rick Story is a big tailgater here in St. Louis, and he's coming down, and of course he's not pulling his trailer but he said, as much as I can stuff in the truck, I'm stuffing in the truck. So he plans on being close to you.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of room. We'll be in that area. We'll kind of cordon it off. Like I said, we're going to have a lot of hot dogs, a lot of fun. We're going to have a nacho bar. There's a lot of drinking flowing, a lot of mimosas, a lot of things going on. So we'll have a good time. It'll be a lot of fun. This will be our first battle on the river here. So we'll see how it goes. But like I said, I expect us to come out and play really well. Our guys were still going after last week. They know they gave that one away. And that's just the way the mentality is right now. So I think we'll play really well.
So before we let you go, I just want to tell all the St. Louis fans, if you get a chance to, we're hoping we have a pretty good contingent heading down Interstate 55. If you get a chance at all, park right in the middle between the St. Louis tailgate and the Memphis tailgate, and it'll be one big happy family because
come get some Battle Hawk wings. We'll have a lot of
sounds great. Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Can't wait to see you guys again this weekend. So looking forward to it. And for everybody that's watching, I just want to put out an ample warning to everybody. There is not a shade tree to be found in the parking lot, in the stadium, no nothing. So if you're coming down, it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend. It's supposed to be 85. The sun will be shining, and you are going to get cooked. So make sure you bring the sunscreen. Make sure you protect that little dude, because the little dude's going to be out in the sun for quite a few hours. So
we know all you Battle Hawk fans have not been outside yet this year. So we're going to be outside in the sunshine.
Welcome to the bowl.
You come and you'll be outside. You won't be.
We're going to be outside. Bring your sunscreen. Be like me and wear the 100, where it's basically wiping glue on your face.
Ed at the last game,
SPF 3000.
He was a shade of white. I mean, Ed was as white as he could possibly be.
And then I had a white shirt on, but by the time the day was over with, my solar panel was so red. Oh my God!
Well, we have showboat hats. You could have got a showboat hat.
I was like, I'm really not mad. I know I look mad, but I'm not mad. I'm just sunburned as hell. Do you know, after that weekend, I peeled. I think I had like 3 layers of skin. I was not near as big a guy by the time I got done peeling.
All right. The smartest guy at the tailgates and at the game is right there, because he wears a helmet the entire time, and he's never gets sun
the whole game.
If I wore that helmet, I'd have sweat rolling out from underneath that thing in 85-degree heat. No thanks. I'll take my chances with the sun.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys, and we'll see you on Sunday. Ready to go.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck. The staff of the Showboats told me, they said, "How are you doing that?" And I told them, "Warfarin. That's how."
We'll catch you later, guys.
We'll see ya.
See ya.
Oh God. It's gonna
always a good time.
Say that it's going to be epic.
But
should be a solid game.
We need to get rolling here.
So anyway, it's 9:45, and we haven't even started our second hour.
Oh, it's going to have to be quick.
Oh my God! So Eric, Let's hear your version of studs and duds for
All right.
week 6.
This is going to be quick for studs and duds, week 6. We're going to start with the studs. You know, it was a 12-6 game, and Mike alluded to it earlier, but I am going to give a stud shout-out to both the Renegade and St. Louis defense. Renegades, 5.5 sacks, 1 turnover. Battlehawks, 3 sacks, 4 turnovers. And they were led by, of course, PETA with 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. I'm going to stay with the defense. Linebacker JT Tyler for Houston, 10 tackles, 6 solo, 1 tackle for loss. Linebacker Andrew Dowell from Memphis, 9 tackles, 4 solo, and a sack. Then I'm going to move to quarterbacks. I do have 3 of them this time. Teamu, 19 of 36. He broke the 50% completion percentage, 259 and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, Bryce Perkins, 13 of 18 for 188, 2 touchdowns. He also added 76 yards on the ground. And I did put Case Cookus in there. He was 16 of 23 for 166 and 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Chris Rowland had a heck of a game, 9 receptions, 144 yards and a touchdown. Running back Toa Teamu, or Toa Tama. Is that right, Mike? Toa Tama, 94 yards and a touch. Basically, the whole Michigan offense, I mean, they put up some phenomenal numbers, as you'll see in the duds side of it. And then Justin Smith for San Antonio, had to give a shout-out to him, 5 receptions, 108 yards. On the dud side of it, the defenders' defense recorded 0 sacks, 0 turnovers, and they gave up 404 yards total offense, 213 of which are on the ground. So hats off to the Michigan offense for putting it to the defenders' defense. Luis Perez, bro, they needed you. Arlington needed you. And you just didn't get it done. Wide receiver Jonte Kirkland, huge drop. We talked about that earlier. Ugh. And Anthony McFarland, 2 rushes, 6 yards. Eek. And then San Antonio, as before, Houston made my duds list all of last year. I think San Antonio is fighting their way on the duds list as a team, all phases. This feels like a shutdown to me. So that is a quick studs and duds list for week 6.
Hey, Debbie, good to see you back again. Haven't seen you in the comment section for a few weeks, so always nice to see you come back.
All right.
You know, so the next thing on the list is power rankings. And I kind of wonder, you know, Brett's the one that's responsible for doing the power rankings.
He is.
And the first time he comes out with this particular power ranking, he takes the night off. So it makes me wonder if he thought that he was going to catch some flack for this.
Let's see.
But I will say, we have the independent auditing firm of Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe looking at his power rankings to make sure that they're on the up and up. And this is what Brett come up with for the week 7 power rankings. I can't.
I'm flabbergasted. Look at that.
Look at that.
That had to be tough.
That had to take every bit of Brett's being to put something like that together.
It did. Had to. Because if he were to rank those teams as to what he roots for, you could take St. Louis and put it clear down on the bottom. So this had to be like, for him to actually put that there, whew. What do you think, Mike? It had to kill him, right?
You know what I actually thought? You know what I thought the number 1 team was going to be? Even though the Battlehawks beat them just a week earlier, I thought when Brett saw Mike, this would be the inspiration he needed.
Yep, I agree.
Number 1. I thought for sure it was going to happen.
I love that.
Yeah, they go all the way to the Dagobah system.
But realistically, again, I think we're with Arlington slipping, this week to 3-3. I think that, we might be looking at Arlington holding on here, but I think 1 through 4 for sure. They might be interchangeable. Yeah, Michigan looked like world beaters this week, but last week, St. Louis took it to them. DC, gets hammered this week, in the next 2 weeks. I say 2 weeks because they play San Antonio this week, but, DC might look like a world beater. In Birmingham, slap San Antonio around, but maybe they struggle against Houston. I just think these top 4 teams are kind of, you could have any one of them at 1, any one of them at 4, I think.
And I
Would you guys agree?
Arlington, I even think you can make an argument for Arlington. But
right, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying
they can't get out of their own way. That's the issue.
But
the issue was more internal for Arlington, I think.
Correct.
They're beating themselves. They're not. It's not so much the other teams that are beating them.
Yeah, but it's tough to count on teams like that.
Yeah.
They're undisciplined. 1 week they look like a world beater, and the next week they're undisciplined. They're doing dumb things. Stoops is frustrated. Those are the types of things that generally do not follow championship teams. You might see a game out of Michigan or a game out of St. Louis, but Arlington's starting to show a pattern of just undisciplined football, and that's going to catch up with you always. It's the same thing I've said about Jordan Ta'amu. That 50% completion below, that's going to catch up to you. It just has to.
And this channels back to what Nolan said in the press conference, because right now we still have that bunch of teams. So those top 6 teams, you could even maybe throw Memphis in there. I think Memphis has a tough hill to climb if they want to even get close to the playoffs. Like 5-5 may not even be enough. But those top 6 teams here, like they're still in that bunch. Now, these next couple games here, you're going to start seeing you don't want to be left behind, clearly. So Arlington's kind of in that. They're playing around that danger zone there. Houston's on like a good trajectory, and it's kind of Arlington's kind of going the opposite way. You know what I mean? So, and then just with the top 4 teams there, it's just it's still their race. All these teams, the top 4 may be the playoffs, so that's just they're in the position. It's just up to them to hang on to it, and any game could fall with the parity that we talked about. We wanted, this is what we wanted. So we want the Brett to be sweating, trying to put this thing together and thinking, and all, that we want Brett's mind to, I
look at it. I almost look at it with the parity that we talked about in this league, that rather than trying to rank teams 1 through 8 and actually have a 1 and a 2 and a 3, I would almost think from here through the rest of the season, we do a who's in, who's out, and just put 4 teams in there and say, here's your top 4 teams, and not get caught up in who's first, who's second, who's third, because you could sit here and make an argument for every one of those teams that they should be the number 1, and you wouldn't be wrong.
Yeah. No. And now we're in the right time to, we're going to start thinking playoff positioning now. It's, in some of these teams, you are running out of games to win here.
And you think about it, the one real danger game this week. They're all danger games. I get it, because you don't want to drop a game. But the one danger game is the Arlington-Michigan game. Arlington loses that, and they're in real trouble. They're in real trouble.
And then on the flip side, if Michigan loses that, and then that means, if Houston, and especially if Houston, this could be a great week for Houston. If Michigan loses and they take business in Birmingham, what a phenomenal, for the division or the conference rather, that would be their best case scenario. So there is a ton of stake,
And that's what I love about the UFL, because if Michigan drops the game to Arlington, which I don't think is going to happen, but if they do, now all of a sudden all the momentum gained by Michigan kicking around DC this weekend has all disappeared, and now we're going, What's up with Michigan? They lose to St. Louis. They kick around D.C. Now they lose to Arlington. Or maybe we're missing something here. But then on the flip side, Michigan wins, and we're saying to Arlington, well, Arlington's in a real tough, So, I mean, that's a real pivotal game for those two teams. Not that the rest of them don't matter. They do.
Yeah.
That's a real pivotal team for the trajectory of each one of those teams.
The season's the seasons are starting to hang in the balance here.
Correct.
So this is these very important games, as we talked about. St. Louis can't take Memphis lightly. Birmingham does not take in Houston lightly. Michigan, Arlington, we know that's big, out my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend as far as what this does going forward. But then, you can't, San Antonio, DC. Now, San Antonio's beaten DC before. Would San Antonio go with the same kind of formula? Maybe if they have a matchup advantage that DC doesn't have. They're going on a road. DC is also, they took a loss. How do they respond? What are they going to do? And I think that last time they had a loss too, I think they responded well to their game. And then let's see what happens. They're at home. Maybe they have a good showing, better showing this time around. So
the aforementioned, I don't know which one of us from the bottom line may have posted this in the comment line, but I've got a kind of.
I think I got an idea.
Somebody watching the show, laying in his bed, not feeling very well right now, may have posted that. So I'm glad it probably killed him in his power rankings to do that after throwing that up on the comment line.
So everybody still watching, get active on the comment line because you can get your predictions in too. It's time to go to the picks. Before we get to the picks, as you can see scrolling along the bottom, that same guy who won the college and NFL season has made his way to the top again. Question is, will he stay there? Will he stay there? So,
well, you're tied with Mike. It's not like you're up there alone. So.
Yeah, but whatever. Okay.
We'll see after this weekend.
So, first game on the docket is a Friday night primetime game. You got DC at 4-2 going to San Antonio, who's 1-5. DC is a 7-point favorite with the over-under at 36. It will be on Fox. So one thing's for sure, when you get the viewership numbers, it is what it is. No guessing with ESPN.
No, that's right.
So I'll tell you first out of the gate, Brett took DC. So Mike, who you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the defenders here. But they got to respond. It's a very important game for both teams. San Antonio still want to get a home crowd a win here too, for the support that they've shown over the years for spring football. So a lot of pressure both sides here. That very crucial race, because if you're DC, you're watching now. So that Arlington, Michigan game really could impact you depending on how this goes. So I still like DC here. And then if you're talking points, I don't know, I would take the points too if I was, someone who was looking to make some gas money off of these games. I would go that route. So I think DC is going to respond well this week.
Eric on the comment line took DC. The little dude's dad.
I've got to go with DC. They can't afford. I mean, as much as I'd like San Antonio to hang another one on DC as a Battlehawks fan, I can't see DC coming in here and overlooking San Antonio. I would take DC and the points, and I would even take the over.
Well, DC needs to get their defense figured out. They've they've allowed way too many points here the last couple weeks. And what better team to get right on than to have San Antonio on the slate. So I got to think that DC is going to get back on track and move to 5-2. I got DC. So let's move on to the next one. We've got Michigan playing a noon game on Saturday on Fox. They are a 1-point favorite traveling to Arlington Michigan's 4-2. Arlington's 3-3. Brett is taking Michigan here. What about you, Eric?
I've got Michigan. After the game, coming off the game with DC, I'm surprised this is only a 1-point opener.
DraftKings has Michigan at -3 now.
Okay, I would be more apt for that. Like I said before, this is a season-changing game for both these teams. I would anticipate that there's going to be a lot of points in this game. But if Arlington's defense come out and play like they did in St. Louis, I mean, maybe it's one of those 12-6 games. I don't know. But Perkins looks to be playing too well, so I'm going Michigan.
Debbie took Arlington. Eric took Michigan. I could see where someone would take Arlington, but I think, as they always say, the recipe has been shown. Not only do they have Balaj go down with injury, so they're shorthanded at running back, but now they have, I don't know, to me, Luis Perez is just off. And the offensive line was not giving him time. The defensive line from St. Louis was breathing down his neck most of the night. And with Michigan's defensive line, I just can't see that things are going to be much different. So, I got Michigan as well in this game. So as far as the bottom line crew, it's a clean sweep for Michigan. So let's move on to a very big game, pretty much, I wouldn't say the season, but pretty damn close for Houston, because here's their time to put up or shut up. They can beat Birmingham at Birmingham and potentially claim a tie for first, depending on Michigan's outcome.
And a winning record too. Like this is a big football game. I would argue the best of the weekend as far as significance or importance for both teams. A lot of stakes. I can't get. I love this is what I love about the UFL when everything's so close together. Then games are running out, weeks are running out, but that means every game matters, and this is just so much fun, especially when it's within the conferences.
Yeah, Birmingham's. I didn't check tonight to see if it's changed, but it's at 6.5 now that Birmingham is favored. But I don't know. Birmingham hasn't put a real game together yet, I don't think, and so 6.5 seems like a lot here. Eric's taking Birmingham. Debbie's going with Birmingham. And Brett wants to send his shout out to the UFL. He wants to thank the UFL for scheduling an 11 o'clock Mother's Day game in the Bible Belt. Absolutely fantastic scheduling. So Brett took Birmingham. I got to go with Birmingham as well. I think that it's getting that time of the season where Coach Holtz is going to start getting things figured out, and it's unfortunate because Birmingham goes into St. Louis next week. So I'm more than happy to see Birmingham struggling a bit, but it's getting that time of the season where it's time to put up or shut up. So I got to think that Birmingham's going to start figuring out some things. So I got them beating Houston in this one.
I got Birmingham here, but I wouldn't be surprised if I get this one wrong too, because when you got Wes Hills, he's just coming off an injury, but he's also have fresh legs too, so he doesn't have a lot of miles as far as the season goes for him, and he's a very capable running back of doing some great things against the defense, and he knows Birmingham well, as he was a Michigan Panther last season, so he knows what it means to go into Birmingham and play well. And but I'll go Birmingham here. And just one one little note here. I know we saw in spring football, the UFL News they talked about the playoffs, if they want that changed. These games that we're getting right here is why I think the playoff format needs to sit put as far as the stakes with the first top 2 in each division go. That's just how it just means the importance of conference play, no matter what the record is. It just keeps the stakes high and all the players, playing high stakes football. It's what we all want to see. It gets all the home crowds excited, knowing they have a chance to go into the playoffs. So I like the current format.
Well, you can't, this is a discussion that they should have brought up in the off season.
Definitely.
You can't propose a rule change halfway through a season. Makes absolutely no sense.
And with 8 teams in the league anyway, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
The top 2 out of each division, that makes sense.
It makes it fun. It makes it fun. Then you can have a true conference championship game.
Yep.
It just makes a lot of fun. It makes for these kind of weeks, like when you look at the schedule, you're going, a conference, intra-conference matchup. Those are always big games, critical for the league. So I'm glad that the proposal got shut down.
It's really, when you look at the conferences, I'm almost in favor of them getting rid of the USFL and the XFL conference, just strictly because if you look at what's happened over the course of the last couple of years, how cool would it be for St. Louis and Michigan to play twice a year? How
Memphis.
Cool would it be? How would it cool be for St. Louis and Memphis to be able to have a home and away every year?
Yeah.
And it also depends on the teams, so the markets that come back. So let's say it is let's say you do get one in each conference. So let's say the XFL gets the Seattle Sea Dragons, and the USFL division you get the Portland Breakers. So then let's just see. I think whatever the next 2 expansion teams are will kind of give you an idea of where they could go as far as the conference namings. Do they go away from that, or they do bring back one of the franchises that were on pause from the merger? So that's a lot of they're doing their homework as far as what markets should be back in the league.
But when you look at perfect example, if we had Memphis, Michigan, and St. Louis in the same division,
and DC,
every one of them is a drivable game.
Yep.
So you're going to get that interaction between fan bases that are going to make that trip back and forth, the home and away. Currently in the XFL, you got St. Louis, DC's about as far away as you can get. You got San Antonio, who's about as far away as you can get. Arlington is a pretty good jaunt. But, so, yeah, I understand why they did what they did, but, depending on expansion and how many teams they add, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to division realignment either.
All right. I'll take Birmingham, by the way, since you didn't ask me.
I wasn't asked for the Michigan. They just assumed I picked Michigan.
Well, yeah.
So that is a clean sweep for Birmingham. So far, DC San Antonio, clean sweep for DC, clean sweep for Michigan at Arlington, clean sweep for Birmingham at home against Houston. That brings us to our last game, which is 4-2 St. Louis traveling to Memphis for the mother of all tailgates game, where it's going to be sunshine, and so bring your sunscreen. Bring your sunscreen. Not everybody can be copper like me.
Bring extra for those who don't have sunscreen and forgot.
Right.
Yeah. If you have that copper tone skin already, you don't have to worry about it. But
yeah, you really do too.
So St. Louis, 4-point favorites. The over-under is 39. It's a Sunday 2:00 game on Mother's Day. It is the final game of Week 7. Brett went with St. Louis.
Whoa. He went with St. Louis after posting.
Went with St. Louis.
He posts this on our chat line, and then he takes St. Louis in the game. That is weak sauce. Real weak sauce.
So
That's fine,
Eric,
though.
So,
I'm taking St. Louis. This is a must win. You know, St. Louis has to look at DC playing San Antonio, you know, believing that DC is probably going to win that game. They'll know the outcome of that game by the time they play on Sunday. But you know, 5-2 with 3 games to go is in a good spot. If you can get to 5-2 with 3 games to go, you're sitting pretty good for the playoff picture. You go to 4-3, and now, you know, things can get dicey. 5-2 looks real good for the playoff with 3 games to go. So I'm taking St. Louis.
It's like 6 is that magic number that you would really feel comfortable being in the race and being in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so and just based on what I've seen, you know, and the obvious pick would be St. Louis here, but for those who may have watched early on the show, I really liked Memphis in this game. Reason why is because how they've been scoring points, you know, and then watching St. Louis. Granted, they did play against Arlington, but I think there should have been a lot more points scored by St. Louis, you know, to be quite frankly. So I'm going to take Memphis in an upset here. I just think this is going to be one of those. It's a trap game. And you're on the road. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be hot, you know, with Memphis there, or, you know, no shade as you talked about. So how do the players adjust? You know, do they adjust well to being out in that environment? But I think that just something about this Memphis team, I think, is going to keep it close. They may win by only a couple points. I think, you know, when you see that 4-point spread there, you know, it's going to be a close one. So Eric saying defense. Memphis has the defense to keep it close, and then I just don't know. I'm not really sold on Max Duggan doing elite things at quarterback.
So we've got Eric on the comment line taking St. Louis. We got another guy on the comment line named the bottom line taking Memphis by 52.
A lot of points.
Some people's kids.
Keith is taking the Battlehawks.
Debbie's got St. Louis.
Yeah, I know I'm going against the grain here, but it's just.
So I'm tiptoeing into Memphis. I'm not walking. I'm tiptoeing because Memphis has the ability to put some points on the board. St. Louis has been struggling on offense. They started the season off that first week. I think their third down efficiency was somewhere around 57%. They're now slid down to where it's down to 41%. So they're getting down into that dangerous territory of being in the 30s again. I think they finished last season being 34% efficient on third downs, which is just not conducive for sustaining drives. They've only got a 50% red zone scoring percentage right now. I'm not talking touchdowns. I'm just talking about coming away with a score. When you're in the red zone, it's got to be a lot better than 50%. Their conversion, their touchdown conversions, they're 3 for 14. They're 1 for 5 at the 1-point line. They're 2 for 9 at the 2-point line. They have just been inept when it comes to conversions. And it's some of the plays, I mean, they're not even close. You're wondering what is going on. And so Coach Beck talked about the fact that he had 9 days to prepare for this Memphis game. Well, I suggest that at least 1 or 2 of those days was spent watching Michigan film, because Michigan is 15 for 21 for conversions after touchdown. 15 for 21. That's a well-oiled machine.
Highest in the league.
So when you look at 3 for 14 versus 15 for 21, that's just so.
This is what we're hoping for, Eric, right here. I'm with you. Wait to see what he does in Memphis. You got to believe they're going to be paying attention to where Pete is at this week.
I think Brett took a double dose of.
He must have took He must have took NyQuil and then
Seems to be getting a little more delirious as the night goes on. I don't know.
Brett's probably got a hold of the wheel of the Memphis Showboat yacht. You know, he's probably at the wheel just swinging all over the place, bells, the foghorn going off. That's Brett right now in the show.
I think it's probably guilt for putting St. Louis #1 in the power rankings.
It's a combination of that, and he's probably laying in bed thinking about planning out his Mother's Day. So he's probably picking up his mom at 8 o'clock. They're going to go to like a House of Pancakes or Cracker Barrel or something like that. He's going to take her out for a quick Mother's Day breakfast. Then he's going to hop in his car and he's going to head to Birmingham for this game of the season on Mother's Day, prime time, 11 in the morning.
It's noon for Brett.
No, Brett says he's on Central Time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's noon for me, so it's lunch. It's lunchtime for when I turn that game on.
The thing about it is, if what Brett says is true, he'll be able to interview like the other 6 people in the stands for the game. So he'll be able to do some live action reporting.
Oh, God.
8 o'clock.
I'm
not a morning person.
Eric, who's an avid Battlehawks fan, he I can't find the post now, but he went out on a limb and he's predicting that there'll be enough St. Louis fans making the trek to Memphis that it'll actually be a Battlehawk home game Sunday.
That could be, yeah. I mean, that's we gonna see the.
That's what I love. That's what I love about having games that are drivable. You've got fan bases that can interact, and it's going to be an awesome time tailgating and the whole ball of wax.
I think it'd be like if if we get an Ohio team coming in here, you don't think that Michigan fans would take the drive down. What if it's a Canton team or if it's in Columbus, wherever they have it? That's definitely drivable.
Yeah.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to I sure appreciate everybody joining us for another edition of The Bottom Line. Also want to encourage you to like and follow us. Go to our page and like and follow. We're closing in on 2,000 followers. We're literally, you can almost feel it.
It's close.
So,
it's close.
Very close. So enjoy the games this weekend, everybody. Hope your team wins, unless you're a Memphis fan.
Then I hope the tailgate's good.
Yeah, it should be a great weekend.
Yeah, and listen to the Bottom Line show. And you guys are driving on the road. So have us on. You can reach us on YouTube, X, Facebook. Find the latest episode, play it for your drive, and chime in as you listen along. Make comments. Then let us know what your thoughts are.
Every Wednesday, if it's 8 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock p.m. Central, and it's a Wednesday night, it's The Bottom Line. We will see you again next Wednesday. Enjoy the weekend and enjoy football.
Go football.
And that's The Bottom Line.